Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
Sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. And try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need. Test, test, test.
Hello.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Welcome to the Crazy Life, everyone. My name's Jen. I am your hostess for the evening, and with me, as always, is Brian and Heno. Hey, guys.
Yo.
Hey.
How you doing?
Doesn't suck.
I've been watching some Phineas and Ferb, so those of you who know Phineas and Ferb,
I do, yeah.
There you go. She was my muse there for a second.
Nice.
Because I think the official words are "What you doing?" Anyways, I digress. Who wants to start us off this week with what's going on? What happened? What's up?
I feel like you should.
I should?
Because the last couple weeks, I'm pretty sure me and Heno have gone first, haven't we?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I would say you probably have.
Either way, I'm just strong-arming you into it. So.
Fair enough. No, actually, things are pretty good. I had a pretty solid week. I got the phone call I was hoping for, and I did get a second interview.
Nice.
So, yes. So very excited. That's happening this coming Tuesday. It is a very high pressure, high stress interview. It's going to be about 2 hours. I have the first half is with 2 people, and then there's a short break of like 10, 15 minutes. Then I have another meeting with another 2 people.
Then the talent competition, and then the swimsuit. Yeah.
Then the talent, then the swimsuit competition.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
That's a long interview, though. Man.
It is a long interview. It is going to be, and the thing with having two different sets of people is that the odds of you getting the same question twice are pretty high.
Yeah.
Because it's either going to be the same question twice, or it's going to be a variation on the same question going for the same answer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be very important that I kind of keep things straight. And obviously I'm going to be truthful because there's no reason not to be.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I'm not smart enough to keep up with a bunch of lies and misdirection. So
it's just easier though to not
one of those perjury traps.
Yeah.
Exactly. I just say I can't handle that.
Yeah.
So, but just kind of keeping straight what you say to which person and when you say it, and because there's stories that can be used for multiple different questions. So make sure you're not reusing the same story for a different question with the same people and all that craziness. But regardless, I am very excited for that, and hopefully I'm assuming that this is the end of the interview process. Once
That's what you think. After this, it's a body of 75 people.
I would assume that this is the end of the interview process with the second interview. So hopefully I would have an answer by the end of the week, because they want the person to start at the beginning of the year.
Oh, yeah. So you would think, they would really want to have someone hired by the end of next week, because you're going to miss a couple of days both ways, basically, from the holidays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for the next 2 weeks, you're going to have the whole holidays thing, and it would be perfect if you have the answer by the end of next week, because then, Christmas week is week 1, New Year's week is week 2. There's your 2 weeks notice. Boom, you can start fresh on the new year.
Yeah.
So that is what I'm putting out in the universe as my goal. That is my positive futuring, whatever you want to call it, because I can't remember right off the top of my head, but
it's what's on your vision board. Yeah.
Yes, my vision board. That's what's on my vision board, my mental vision board.
Right.
But but things are going well. Other than that, I got some resolution, a little bit of resolution with some of the struggles that are happening at work. So there's still some stuff going on there, but it is being worked through, which is always a positive. Mm-hmm. I ended up working with a few different other people, which made me, because you have a crew that you work with, and you guys may be able to relate a little bit to this, but you have people that you work with on a daily basis that you become very comfortable with, and so you kind of have a groove with them that you just come in, you know exactly what they're going to be doing, you know exactly what you're going to be doing, everybody knows their roles, they play them well, boom, bam, boom, job gets done, everybody's happy, it's very nice and smooth. So this week I had the opportunity to work with a couple people that are a little different than my normal crew, which was really interesting for me to kind of stretch myself a little bit, to kind of go outside my comfort zone, learn a little bit about what they do, and also see how they interact with me. One of the guys, he wanted to do things his way that he's used to doing, what he's comfortable with, and instead of trying to fit into our shift, he was trying to fit our shift to him, basically.
Nope.
And so it didn't work out as well as I think he was hoping. Versus the other guy kind of came in, and the first words out of his mouth was, okay, how do you guys do things?
Yep.
That's different.
You know what? Here's the thing. Not only is that generally a better way of integrating yourself, but it's also smarter, because if you know how you do it, you find out how they do it. You might be able to go, oh, here's the similarities in our stuff, and then just boom, 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 and you're right in with things, to where you're still doing things the way you're comfortable, but you're also doing them to the satisfaction of wherever you're at,
So I appreciate, because I'm not one to jump on things. If there's a situation that's happening that's especially a little higher in volatility and could be a little bit of an issue, I'm not one to jump in and go, oh my God, let's get this attacked and boom. You know, I am more kind of sit back, let's watch it unfold, and let's address things as they go. Well, some people can see that as me not being aggressive or me being lazy because I'm not doing anything. This guy came in and kind of saw what was happening and let me have my time to do it the way I want to do it, because he saw kind of what I was doing and he would just wait versus jumping on it versus taking it over from me versus anything like that. He would just kind of waited. And it was really fascinating because I love seeing people's management styles, and I'm very aware of which types of styles I work best with. And I always work best with the former versus the latter, or latter versus the former. You know what I'm saying anyways. So that was really interesting. And then, what else did happen? We just did some stuff around the house, so that was nothing too amazing. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much a solid, good week. You know, nothing too crazy one way or another. But that's good. I enjoy those types of weeks, and especially coming up on the holidays. I mean, as everybody knows, I'm going through my annual, anxieties of having people over. Is my house good enough? Am I good enough? Are they going to accept me, approve of me? All of the good jazz. But for the now, at least, a lot of that is being kept at bay. I think the whole job interview is kind of pushing a lot of those anxieties out of the way, because to make room for new anxieties, but regardless, no, I think that things are settling down and getting pretty good. So all good things and big hopes for the new year for sure.
Nice.
Yes.
Good.
So with that, who wants to go next?
I will. So this week I had therapy, and I was sitting in there and discussing how this season has been really rough. Like, I just keep feeling like depression, just every day I'm feeling it again. And so I had to make an appointment with my doctor to go talk to him, I guess, about like the medicines I'm on and the vitamin D supplement I'm on, and maybe tweaking the recipe, so that to help me, because I don't, when the days are all gray and stuff, it's like I don't feel like going anywhere, but I still need that, and you still get some of it through, even with the clouds and stuff, but it's a much lower amount, at the time. But so that, that was good. And then, we talked about how, oddly enough, like, as we were talking about something else, and at one point I kind of circled around to where, over the years I've had kind of, I've had really disturbing thoughts, but I've never seen them as a concern, because I have no want to act on them, and it stems back to when my dad was in his, the last year. He made a comment at one point about how basically he thought if he kind of threw himself headfirst into our, like, the sink we had in the bathroom, like into the faucet, how he could probably, because he was in such weak state, that that would probably end things for him. And, we realized that was because of a medicine he was on, because a lot of the painkillers and different stuff can cause, thoughts of self-harm and what have you. But ever since then, well, and then obviously, the day he died, that's how you found him, and and then me going in there and seeing it, that image is, forever ingrained in my head. And although, and just for clarity's sake, he did not do that. That's not, there was no sign of trauma on his head or anything from that kind of thing. So, but I've found myself over since then, like occasionally I'll just be looking at the faucet in like the shower or whatever, or over the sink when I'm brushing my teeth or something, and I'll just have that same thought, you know, and again, there's no want to do it. I don't really want to hurt myself. I'm not going to do it, but the fact that the thought is still there bothers me, you know? Mm-hmm. And I had it a couple of times over the last month. So I was talking to my therapist about it, and she very much, you know, was like, kind of like, have you ever really sat down and unpacked that? You know, like you seeing that image and having that in your head and that thought. She's like, have you really kind of processed that? And I was thinking about it, and it's like, I probably haven't, you know? And she was like, that's probably what's going on here, is that your brain keeps going back to it to, you know. So that was a really definitely unexpected thing to come up, but I wanted to talk to her about it because it was bothering me, you know, and that's the point of therapy. So yeah, that was really interesting. But, you know, she, of course, you know, went through the whole, anytime you have these feelings, make sure you note like what you're doing at the time, what you might think has triggered it. Have you had recent thoughts of, you know, your dad? Have you also had recent thoughts of harming yourself, you know? And of course you have to, because that is a visualization is a red flag, you know? So that, you know, she of course reiterated to me to make sure that, you know, if I have these thoughts or whatever, to make sure that, you know, if I'm having thoughts of harming myself, to, you know, contact someone about it. But it was kind of wild, like, you know, cause it was almost right at the very end of the session, you know, so we got done talking with that. And as I'm leaving it, I'm just kind of thinking on it a little bit more. And it's just like, wow, you know, I really hadn't thought about how quickly I dismissed those things linking and whatever, you know. So that was a very interesting moment for me, you know.
Right.
Yeah. But so I've been getting quite a bit of stuff done, even though I've been feeling, you know, this depression or whatever. But I noticed a couple days ago that I was really starting to feel overwhelmed. And again, I think I mentioned this last week, or maybe it was salty language, whatever, but it's like, it's all stuff I've put on myself. There's no pressure from outside sources. It's all me, you know, like, you know, oh, I got to get this done. I want to get this done. I want this, and, you know, so last night, you know, I was kind of really feeling that way. And I was like, you know what? It's like, I'm just going to sit and I'm going to play video games, and I'm not going to think about the other stuff, and I'm not going to beat myself up, you know, because I'm not being air quote productive, you know, and I did. And I felt so much better afterwards because I finally listened to what my body is telling me.
Awesome.
You know,
Get yourself a break.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was finally like kind to myself, you know, it's, so, you know, to anyone out there, if you're feeling overwhelmed this time of year, you know, especially if you're like me and, you know, you've put all the pressure on yourself, you know, make sure you, let off the gas once in a while, you know. You know, but like I said, on the upside, I've been getting stuff done that I've wanted to get done for a while, and that's awesome. You know, I was actually, looking around yesterday at, there's a post, I keep going back to it, and it's from an artist, and it's from a few years ago. And it's called, and the title of it is, Don't Go to Art School. And he lays out how at the time, I don't know if the cost would be the same now, but at that time, for about $10,000, you could get a much better education than the art school is going to give you, because you can focus it on what you really want to do. And, you know, like a lot of it is really, most of it is just, practicing, you know, being in figure drawing groups, taking classes where you're studying the master's stuff, you know, doing those kind of things that are the work that basically, you know, the way you become a good artist is you put in the work. You just keep doing, like anything, you know, you can't get good at guitar generally just by picking it up. You know, you've got to keep playing it. And so I've been trying to get myself motivated again to, you know, to really draw on stuff. So I went through and I like copied all the links because I'm afraid at some point the page that it's on won't be there anymore, you know, because it's an older post. And, you know, I wasn't thinking I should just pull it up on my phone and screenshot it, but then I won't have the links, you know. So this way I have the different links and, you know, looking at different art books. Cause it's funny cause some of the books on there are for like painting, you know, and I'm like, I don't really like, you know, I'm not going to work with oils unless I have to, unless someone puts a gun to my head and says, do it, you know, like I don't like working with oil paint or honestly, I like working with charcoal, but I have an issue with it. So I'm probably not going to want to work with charcoal, you know, that kind of stuff. But when I was reading the reviews of a couple of the books, one person actually said about one of the painting books, he's like, this book isn't, he's like, you don't gain, he's like, you learn stuff about painting. He's like, but what you really are learning is about the visualization and the mindset. And he's like, and that's why this book is worth its weight in gold. And I was like, okay, now I'm back in, you know, cause if it's just teaching me how to paint, it's like, I mean, I know the basics of how to use oils. I'm not great at them, but again, if I sat down and just kept working with them, I'd get better at it, you know, just by putting the work in. But it was really strange, going through doing that because, like, well, some of the sites that he had marked and stuff are gone now. But I didn't realize how many, and I know there's a ton on like YouTube and stuff, but there is a good chunk now of, basically people who are professionals teaching you how to, whatever it is, draw, paint, digital art, whatever, you know, and these classes are like, it depends. Some of them are like $50. You can go way up in the scale too, you know, there are some that are more, they're almost like a college. So it'll be like $600 for it, you know. But again, compared to an art school credit time, that's like half the price or a third of the price. You know, even though $600-700 sounds like a lot of money, in that realm, it isn't, you know, comparatively. But I didn't know how many were out there. There's one guy I looked at, his stuff and he's, there's a famous illustrator named Andrew Loomis that he's got a few books that are basically regarded as like Bibles for illustration. And, this guy basically teaches you how, like, once you've kind of mastered the Loomis technique, how to then apply that and start, you know, working from that point. That the Loomis head, you know, drawing is your base. But then he's like, now I'm going to teach you how to take it another step kind of a thing. And he's got a bunch of like real short, like free videos where he'll show you just a little bit of it, you know, just give you a taste of it. And of course, you know, he wants to sell you the course. But I was watching and I was like, wow, this is the stuff that I feel like art school fails people on. And I think that's why this guy wrote this whole post, you know? So anyways, it kind of got me
fascinating. Yeah,
it kind of got me, you know, jazzed about some of it again, but you know, I keep running into these spurts and then I feel like about it again. So, and then the last thing I want to bring up was, you know, kind of a kick in the pants this week, which was I finally, on one hand, it's a win because I finally called a couple of bankruptcy attorneys, which I've been putting off. I finally did it. And the first one, you know, I called gave me a price of, geez, what was it? Like $1,368. That's what the paper says here. Woo. And I was like, wow, okay. Cause that's more than I anticipated. It's more than I have. And I was like, okay, you know, like, well, I'm going to call around basically, you know? So I've now gotten two others that have responded to me via email. And one of them is closer to 1,600. Like this is everything, you know, lawyer and filing included. And the other one is about the same price as the first guy. And I was like, oh man, it's like, I felt like I was really like, I felt like I was like, cool, I've got the money. I'm going to start this, get it going maybe before the end of the year kind of a thing. And now I'm like, well, I guess not. And, but I didn't, it's not completely shut me down or anything. I've very much had I was telling Tony about this on Salty Language, and I'm like, basically at this point it's, just keep chopping wood, just at some point I'll get there. And, but whew, yeah, that was really a kick in the butt though. It was quite a bit more than I expected.
Wow.
Yeah. Which, I wrote a thing on Twitter about, and I mentioned on Salty Language too, which was, like how horrible it is that filing bankruptcy is cost prohibitive for people who don't have the money to pay the bills in the first place.
Right.
This makes no sense. And again, I get it. They don't want people to try to file frequently. They don't want this to be something you immediately go to, But at the same time, it's like, look, like me, I don't work. How do you tell somebody that doesn't work, like, okay, raise $1,500 and then we can talk?
Mm-hmm.
Even if I go get a job, I'm going to get a job that's like minimum wage money. It's going to take me a long time to save it. And I've got liens against wages if I make anything. So it's going to take me longer. Because even if I put everything I have into it, it's going to take, whatever. I really feel like there should be some sort of a limit on this. On the price of that. I feel like whatever the state charges, I'm not saying a lawyer shouldn't get paid. They should definitely get paid for their services, but there needs to be cheaper options for people. And from what I looked around, there's not many. There's not many lawyers that do this on discount, so I don't know if it's a pain in the ass or what. Sorry, excuse my French. But, I don't know if it's a pain in the butt for them to do, so they're just like, it brings in money, so I'll do it, or whatever. But anyway, like I said, the win from the whole thing is, it's not, I didn't immediately throw my hands up in the air and, of course it's more expensive, like those kind of things. So, whereas I know in the past I would have gotten very disheartened by this because I was feeling good that I had the money. And then, so, but not now. So, there you go. That's my, once again, long-winded explanation of my week.
How are you, Henno? How are you doing?
Oh, doing better. I ended up getting sick last week, which kind of
It's a bummer.
Yeah, it just was. I was having actually a pretty good week. And well, I don't know if it was the night that we podcasted or when I was doing, was recording Orville, I just suddenly started having this massive sneezing fit, and I'm like, okay, that's not good.
It was when you were talking, like, you and I were talking afterward.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was afterwards, yeah.
Yeah.
And I rarely take my decongestants at night, but I had to.
Yeah.
I was like, take my antihistamine at night, all that stuff. And I just like that. I just knew it wasn't a good sign, but the next day I went to work and I was fine. And then the day after I was like, okay, my motivation level is really low. I started feeling kind of guilty about it. I'm like, okay, why am I having such a hard time? Because I didn't necessarily feel bad at the, and then the next day, so I'm like, oh, cool, got to burn some PTO anyway. When I woke up and when I was coughing, I'm like, because my coworker Sean and I talk about this all the time. It's like, if you're coughing and sneezing, don't come to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're spreading it.
You're just, and yes, I was already spreading it beforehand, but it's just, it's almost like in your face when someone's just overt symptoms,
Mm-hmm.
So I took Thursday off and I did have a chiropractor appointment, which was good. I still managed to get up to that, but I basically just knocked myself out. And then Friday was great because I got all my, got Christmas cards sent out and the last of the stuff wrapped and stuff sent home and that kind of stuff. But it took like all freaking day long. And, part of why it took so long is because I wasn't exactly like, ooh, chipper.
Yeah. Right.
The brain isn't quite working.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was funny. And it's just, again, that thing where I had rehearsal on Friday. I was like, sorry guys, it's like I'm quarantining myself.
Yeah.
A, I really don't need to be spreading it around, and B, it's self-care. It's the reason I went to work today. I had a good day yesterday. I felt good. Went did a little driving around, little hanging out with some friends and things, and today went to work, hit the gym afterwards. That doesn't happen unless I take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it is. If I don't take the time, and my GM, the facilities manager, both of them, they rarely ever, they don't call in sick hardly at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they come to work sick or they just don't get sick or whatever it is, but I do.
Probably both of those things.
Yeah. And, but weird thing happened at work is my facilities manager has a husky, and Coda's pretty young. I want to say he's about three or four. He's about 3. And he's got some weird territorial things going on, and he will growl. Like if you drop a pencil on the floor, and that's now his pencil. And if you go to reach for it, he'll guard it, like to the point where, and he's a pretty big dog.
Mm-hmm.
He's not mean.
Yeah.
In no way, shape, or form he's mean. But it's been an issue for a while now, enough that some of my coworkers are afraid to even go near him.
Right.
And the only time he ever does it to me is when I need to go around James's desk and whatever, use the hole punch or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll occasionally do it, and I just, it startles me, and then I just talk him down,
Mm-hmm.
just get in his face a little bit and like knock that off. Well, and I get it because behind that desk, that's now his cave.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
That's right. That's his territory.
Yeah.
Plus, this is where my dad is.
Yeah. Right.
I'm supposed to protect this area, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was just heading to my desk, and he went at my feet and growled. And I got pissed.
Yeah.
I was like, the GM heard it. And by this time, like, the dog, he did it again. And it was like, I'll happen with Bogart every once in a while where I get him too riled up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now the toy is like, he's super focused on the toy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was starting to go at my feet again. And this time luckily my chair was there, my rolling chair, and I grabbed the chair and I started pushing it between me and him and yelling at him to back off. And he wasn't. And then finally when John came in the room, all of a sudden it was like, it's like his eyes changed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was all of a sudden like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah.
And right. That's not a safe workplace.
No, it's not. That's honestly the whole time you're telling me this, that's all that's going through my head.
It's not
because
good.
I'm the type of person that I wouldn't go anywhere near that dog. Because I don't know what it is. I have an issue. If a dog seems aggressive to me at all, I won't go near it. So
I have a lifetime of being afraid of dogs. The only reason that I even assert myself in this case is because now I have dogs and I've learned what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And how to and I don't have an issue with my GM tried to kind of like, you're a good dog, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, John, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not cool. And so then I find out that the dog bit one of my coworkers.
Oh.
Oh.
Wow.
And so then the two of us compared notes. I walked in. Here's the great part. What does my GM do? Walks in and uses us by name.
Oh.
Facilities manager. I'm like, thanks for throwing us under the bus.
Wow, that's really unprofessional. Yeah.
It was extremely unprofessional.
Yeah.
Because I even told the GM, I'm like, this really isn't about me. I'm more than happy to assert myself, but we got two housekeepers that don't even want to go into that room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So today I get into work, and the box for our keys and various things and various things that were on the other side of the room are now by the door. That means that's not a solution.
No, it's not.
Right.
I just sat there and I thought to myself, this is one of those situations where I go, how much do I want to push it? And how much do I want to push it at this time of year? Mm-hmm. Because I've now put you on notice. We both put you on notice, and you've taken zero action. And here's the crazy part. The dog is a metaphor for his owner.
Yeah.
because he's the same way.
Well, and once a dog bites somebody, if you put them back in that environment, you're setting a precedent then.
You are.
And you're opening yourself up to some real trouble. And the owners or his boss, whatever, being okay with it, kind of sets themselves up for that too, because if I get bit and I'm on company time, you know, and they've okayed this environment, I mean, whose fault is it at that point?
That's it.
You know,
that's it. And
it's
yeah,
not smart on their part. Yeah.
No, and realistically, the solution is nobody brings their animals to work.
Yep.
Right.
Or you leave them in the car, or you do something. Because what we've done is we've actually. I don't blame the dog.
Yeah.
No.
We've that's his territory. That's James's office.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he has to share it with other people.
Yeah, that's a bigger part of it. Yeah.
That's the problem. Now, the dog's sweet as can be. He'll come up to me and nudge me under my arm, you know, when I'm, you know, working at my desk. And, like, he's a great dog. He just has this one thing that he gets something about the floor, you know. But it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. And yeah, it's hard because there were some other weird things that happened around the office where it's like, and it's that part where if we hadn't have gone through such a huge deal with this HR stuff a few years ago, I would just, you know, me is always just go along, get along. You know, it's like no reason to make waves. In this case, you know, my coworker was really mad that the GM outed us, but I was realistically, you know, like I never made a complaint. I didn't have to.
Yeah.
He heard it.
Yeah.
I've got it out on this.
Yeah.
He walked in and saw it.
Yeah.
You know, because like, why didn't you talk to me about it? You know, I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to push a chair between me and an animal.
Well,
to get to my desk.
And not to mention, like you said, his reaction was not to talk the dog down to, like, you know, like bad dog kind of a concept. It was more of a, like, who's a good boy? You know, and it's like,
baby. Oh.
So he's also at that point, I mean, he's telling you don't matter as much.
Exactly.
You know?
It's so true.
It's a problem.
I just sat there. I'm like,
yeah.
At what point do I, you know, because that's my other thing is this really has nothing to do with me, the dog, or my boss, who's the facilities manager.
Yeah.
It actually has to do with between me and the GM, who's not taking things seriously, and whose rose-colored glasses are getting in the way of some potential liability.
Well, and not just you at this point, because if the dog bit someone else, or there's someone who's afraid to go around, so they're also part of this. It's like, look, you have multiple employees that have an issue with your dog. It's like, this is an easy fix to me, but you know, I understand where somebody wouldn't want to. You know, especially once you get used to having your dog all day at work. I mean, why would you want to get rid of your dog, you know? Not get rid of it, but, you know, not have it at work, I mean.
Well, yeah, you think, but the thing about it is I also, as a dog owner, I would, in a second, the dog would be at home, or be in boarding, or be something.
Yep.
Yeah,
I take this
absolutely.
really seriously.
Right.
If somebody's threatened at all, it's not a question.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't have a leg to stand on, and that's the hard part for me right now. Is like, it's weird to have. There's all the disharmony that happens in my workplace happens around one person.
Yeah.
And yet that person is extremely good at what they do, and we all do really good work together. But on a personality level, it is horrible.
Yeah.
That's
and
awful.
It's hard. It's just really hard. And that it always is around the same deal.
Yeah.
And I just sit there and I go, you know, there's a time and a place for stuff, and it feels like it's starting to get to that place.
Yeah. Well, you know, and we're not talking about like a small business where the owner always has their dog there and, you know, kind of a thing to where it's like, well, I can't say anything because that's the owner's dog. He's not going to, you know, it's not that.
Yeah.
This is really, this is where I said that I kind of think someone over him should basically be like, hey, you know what? No one, like you said, no one brings their pets in.
They're animals in.
You know?
Yeah.
Sorry. We just can't have that. It's not a professional environment that way. There's too many risks, because if anyone gets bit, scratched, blah, 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 it's our behind, excuse me, it's our behinds over it, So, just from a business standpoint, it would be the smart move, because it reduces a chance.
Is the
Mm-hmm.
case.
Yeah, exactly.
Usually it is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunately it's the history between the two of them, and neither one of them wants to ruffle feathers. Yet neither one of them wants to do what it really takes to the thing that and I said this out loud as I said it, and I'm glad I said it, because it needed to be said, which is it's not about me. It's the people that don't feel like they can stand up for themselves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do
And
that
that's our
too.
housekeeping staff.
Yeah, I used to be that way too, and that I'm willing to, be that voice, because, if I see something like this, I'd have a really hard time staying quiet about this. I would probably push this, myself. I'm not saying anybody else should. I just probably would, because it would bother me, that someone is, because again, it's like ultimately it's about a professional environment, and that takes massive steps toward not being professional environment.
Exactly.
Also,
And
again, business and liability. It's a bad mixture there, And I bet
actually,
any
I'm glad
attorney
you
would probably be like, no, get those dogs out, get any animals out of there.
Yeah. I'm glad you just said that, because you just reminded me of a couple other things that have happened recently that haven't been professional, where it's worth having a conversation. And luckily, he won't be around for a couple of days. He's taking a couple of days off, which is great, and will be opportunity to talk about it. I also, one of the reasons I bring this up is I sit there and I go, okay, this is the worst of my problems in my life. That's why I let a lot of this stuff just go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
These are the worst problems I have to deal with right now.
Yeah.
That is nothing.
Right.
It is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. As I was doing my Christmas card, I got to writing one to my cousin, and my uncle died, and it's like they're going to have their first Christmas without their father.
Yeah.
And I was like, I started writing that card. I was like, okay, what do I write?
Yeah.
That's the real deal. That's, my little issue with a freaking dog at work is a luxury problem compared to that. That's the real life stuff.
But at the same time, to play the devil's advocate to the it could be worse mentality, is that could be a major problem for someone if they have, fear of dogs, or if they, if they get bit badly, that could have been prohibited. Yeah, or prevented. I mean, not prohibited. It could have been prevented, so that's why I was like, for me, it'd be different, but I get it. I also get totally why, again, choose your hill,
choosing the battles. And that's the one thing I've tried to do is, like, just because it's not done the way that I would do it doesn't make it wrong.
Yeah.
It's just different. It's just different. I would do it differently, and that doesn't mean that necessarily my opinion needs to be said either.
Right.
And I get back to that, doesn't need to be said right now, and doesn't need to be said right now by me.
Right.
Because
you never know. Yeah, I was going to say, you never know. Maybe if you took a poll and said, hey, I'd do things this way, maybe people would be like, that's terrible. Let's, who knows,
This is the hard part, is when I do take kind of straw polls at work.
Yeah.
I tend to make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't help me at all.
Right.
like, does this make sense to you? No, it doesn't. I'm like, why do we put up with this?
But you do realize that by asking it that way, you're creating a bias, right?
Oh, I totally
okay. I just listened to a podcast about this the other night. That's why,
I totally do.
About
I
how
set it up beautifully.
About how lawyers, if they have somebody on the stand, and they'll be like, do you, please tell us about the scenario when the two cars crashed into each other, versus saying collided, hit, whatever, that are a little more timid terms. Yeah, if you use a harsher term, they said that they found in the study of this that people describe the scenario worse. That there's like broken glass and there's this and all these things that people, when they use different terminologies, don't tend to bring up. So,
Interesting.
yeah, the whole podcast was on basically how our brains are terrible at memories. So it was pretty fun to listen to.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm with you, Heno. It's like I said, I would really want to do something about it, but I totally could see where you might just be like, yeah, you know.
Because a lot of it's like, it's just business as usual. It's the same thing, you know, and
Yeah.
But so it's one thing that's good about this time of year. And I think this is like, for me, my lesson and the, in a way, kind of a win for the week is like, I have a lot more patience as far as, or compassion, and we'll pause when agitated. And I'm really grateful for that right now. I'm grateful to have that ability to just, you know, like when we were talking a couple weeks ago about maybe having a conversation with some board members, I said, well, let's just marinate on this for a while. Let's just sit on it and see what happens. And the next week things changed. And it's like, okay, I'd rather come at it from that standpoint than the ready to jump on everybody and stuff, because I've spent so much of my life, and I still do it. It's one of my character defects is I like to be right. I like it. It's, you know, but I don't need to do it.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Right.
I'd rather not.
Well, and also too, there is, there isn't the analysis of looking at the scenario and going, okay, let's walk this through a little bit. You know, like we've talked about before, walking through scenarios through. It's like, okay, well, what are the odds that change gets made in this scenario? If you go to HR, maybe, you know, but you've already kind of talked with the supervisor and they didn't do anything. So it's like, you know, you've kind of already got your answer. So is it worth continuously ruffling the feathers and everything just to get nowhere, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
And I look at it, it's like, you know, I did my part, and there's a point where I then have to let go of the results.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Just hope for the best action and things like that, and hope nothing worse happens. But that's actually not in that is something that I don't have control over.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And absolutely, so it's no worth stressing about it. So
yep, true.
There's my catch up. Thanks for your opining and advice. It always helps me.
That's what the team is here for. We'll help each other out.
Sure.
Well, this week our topic is holiday eating tips for good mental health. So something that I don't think we think about on a regular basis is how our eating behaviors, what we choose to put in our body and fuel our body with, how that actually can affect mentally how we think and how we live. So this article is from silverhillhospital.org, and it's by Silver Hill. And the article says, the holiday season is filled with gifts, get-togethers, and tons of food and treats. From cookies at the office to department dinners, we are surrounded by unhealthy food choices and often given to temptation with the intention of losing the extra pounds in the new year. Of course, it's not wrong to indulge a little during the holidays, but moderation is the key. Not only do the extra treats wreak havoc on your waistline, but they can worsen mental health conditions as well. We know which food or drinks are good for mood, but which ones have a negative impact and why? So the first, my all-time favorite, that white little nasty wonderful stuff that lives out in everything we eat pretty much, sugar. Love sugar. So sugar from food, drinks absorb into your bloodstream quickly, leaving you feeling good and full of energy for a short period of time, but then you crash. Roller coaster of highs and lows can accentuate the symptoms of mood disorders like depression or bipolar disorder and anxiety. So when you pass the plate of cookies to the break room, take 1 or 2, not 10.
I pass along 1 or 2. I just keep the rest.
I know, right? What killjoys? Come on now.
Like, hey, have you guys seen the platter of cookies? No. You got like 5 in your mouth, you know.
I will say, from my perspective, with my dealing with bipolar, I do notice a difference. If I've had a lot of sugar or a lot of other things, my not so good for me stuff, I feel worse. It's
Yeah.
like I feel really high and great for a little bit, but then the crash is so much worse. It just is. I feel awful afterwards.
It's really weird with depression because I don't think I feel the crash as much because my baseline is generally set lower to begin with. So when I feel that rush from the sugar, it's like, sweet, yeah, which I don't really feel that much either. But then when I do feel the crash, usually the way it'll hit me is my fatigue level increases more than it's anything else. It's like I just feel a little more, not out of energy or anything, but I just feel more meh, like I'm just meh. So that's kind of a weird one, but I have to be careful to, obviously I don't want to sit and eat, sugary foods all day long or something just to try to maintain, this makes me feel good. So I'll just keep eating this all day.
Right. And then one thing with sugar, folks, you will crash. I mean, there is no, it's not like a drug that you can just consistently stay on for as long as possible. Just constantly consume sugar as a straight line of sugar for the rest of your life. You just can't.
Yeah.
You're going to come down.
Mainlining
And
Pixie sticks all day.
No mainlining Pixie sticks.
Yeah.
So the next one is caffeine. You may turn to a cup of coffee to wake you up, but if you're refueling all day long, it could be problematic. Drinking too much caffeine can worsen anxiety and make it hard to sleep. The anxiety and lack of sleep can cause even more problems if you have another co-occurring mental health or addiction disorder. Limit your caffeine intake and don't drink it late in the day.
What's funny, though,
is
that's when most people need it. As far, air quote, need it, is like as the day goes on, they're like, oh, I'm dragging, like.
Now, caffeine I've heard of being used as a substitution for alcohol or even drugs for addicts. So if they're coming off of alcohol, they're coming off of drugs, the caffeine is and nicotine are two of the top choices to turn to.
Yeah.
Because you can still get somewhat of a high, and it does help somewhat to curb the withdrawal effects. But yeah, it's no solution, and you got to be careful because the same thing as with sugar, you're gonna crash.
Yep.
With caffeine, you got to come down at some point.
Well, what's really interesting is I don't think with either substance, I don't think most people realize how quickly you crash versus the time that you're on the on the way up.
Sorry about that, folks.
Yeah. So it's kind of one of those things that's like when you really look at it, it's like, is it really worth it to keep drinking it across the day for that pick me up when it's only going to last for like an hour, or something. I don't know. Like at some point it just seems like you're chasing the wrong way there. So again, focusing on your sleep, eating better, those kind of things are a much better way to maintain energy through the day, exercise, blah, 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 all that stuff the doctors tell us to do.
Yeah. Or even if you can take a break and take a little nap or something like that, I find that works better for me than like even today at lunch. I was done with my lunch. I had 10 minutes left. I actually closed my eyes for a little bit, popped open. I'm like, oh, that's way better.
Yep.
Funny thing is I'd literally just drank a Red Bull.
Nice.
Which is what often happens when I'm over caffeinated.
That's
it's
funny.
like, why they give little kids uppers.
Yeah.
It puts me to sleep.
Yeah. Oh, it boggles my mind as kind of an aside, but it boggles my mind when I see kids drinking Mountain Dew or highly caffeinated, highly sugared drinks or foods. I mean, it blows my mind. I'm like, how could you possibly give this poor, sweet, innocent child these highly, highly crazy addictive things like caffeine and sugar and not to mention what they do to their systems, hyper kids to begin with, and you're giving them more to be hyper about. I can't comprehend. I don't get it. But I'm not a parent, so I guess I can't get it either.
Yeah. Well, you're right. It's like it really does start, bad habits at a young age, and then they don't tend to get better. If you drank pop as a kid, you don't tend to get older and go, I'm never going to drink pop. It's like you're generally already hooked. At some point, people may go, okay, I need to stop drinking this stuff. But a lot of it is, or the sugary foods and stuff, but it hurts that, without getting into a whole other topic, but, so much of our food has added sugar, salt, those kind of things in it, that it's harder for people to avoid that unless they have the money to avoid that, Or it should just say access. It's not just money. Sometimes there's not good access to healthy food.
Yeah, this is true. The next one on here is fatty foods. New research shows that high-fat diets may put you at a risk for depression and anxiety. The excessive amounts of fat disturb microorganisms in the gut, which appears to interfere with the brain function. The animals in the study who consumed a high-fat diet demonstrated increased anxiety, impaired memory, and repetitive behaviors. More research needs to be done to further understand the connection, but for both physical and mental health, it is best to limit the burgers and the fries. I'm sorry, folks. I just saw a whole bunch of cows being depressed at once when I was reading that, so it kind of made me laugh in the middle of it. But I could just picture these cows sitting there going moo instead of their normal moo.
Meh.
Instead of moo, meh.
Yeah.
Meh.
Yeah.
They're meh cows.
Yeah. That tip's a good one about like the fatty foods and stuff, because a lot of fatty foods tend to be like, after you eat them, you tend to feel really like, just logy or just bleh, so it's, that if nothing else, that's a good enough reason, aside from, what other health ramifications there could be. But just, it's why a lot of people at lunch will eat that way and then wonder why they feel like garbage the rest of their day,
Exactly.
And it's like, well, there's a good reason.
Yeah, I think when we're like, I just know that we've got chocolate and all sorts of stuff at work this time of year, and it's just there.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just one more reason to make sure I have a good breakfast with a lot of protein, that I have a good lunch for me, that I'm not running to grab something.
Yeah.
Because I'm already probably, I just have to look at it as like, I have to do everything I can to keep myself bolstered up, because I'm going to eat the freaking chocolate.
Yep.
It's going to happen. And I'm not going to deny it. And especially when we're go. It's like sometimes it's, and so I made sure, like today, I went shopping before meeting you guys here on Skype, and I was just like, okay, bananas, get the apples and the oranges, and get my carrots, and grab everything that I need, that it's ready, so I'm not running and grabbing something, because when I run and grab something, it's less likely to be something that's good.
Yeah, true.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because, it's funny, on the first point, they talked about, like, the plate of cookies, and it was like, at work, I never had a problem with people bringing in treats, because generally I won't eat a bunch, because I want to make sure there's enough for everybody. So I've always been the type that I'll usually wait until kind of like other people have gotten theirs, and then I'll take one or something. Or like with cookies, I'll take one and I'll never go back for another one, or, that kind of stuff. One of the managers I used to work with used to bring us donuts, and I generally didn't eat any because I wanted to make sure there was some for everybody. So that one's not hard for me. If it's at home, that's a whole different ballgame. I will house all of them. Or, various candies that Henno and I have talked about various times. We're just weak.
Well, there's also a second half to this one that actually talks about 6 tips for to eat healthy during the holidays. So, along with kind of keeping in mind the trigger items, like we talked about, the sugars, the caffeines, the fatty foods, and what I didn't really mention, but I think are kind of self-explanatory, the alcohol. If you don't know, which I think everyone does by now, alcohol is a depressant. So, is not even though it comes across as a jovial, good, fun thing, it is an actual depressant, and it will depress your system. It just is a matter of time for it to take effect.
And
Just
of course,
as an FYI.
it can also, interact with your antidepressants and what have yous as well. So, if you do,
the medicines.
yeah, if you do imbibe, just be aware of that and drink responsibly.
Yeah, when we refer to alcohol as a depressant and like marijuana as a stimulant, it's how it affects your brain. It's alcohol is depressing your brain function, which is why it's easier for you to talk, because it's depressing those parts of your brain that keep you from saying certain things usually. And eventually they'll start depressing important things like motor controls, which is why we stumble. That's why it's a depressant. And the reason that food tastes really good when you have a little bit of the wacky tobacco, it's because it's stimulating your brain and it's stimulating those functions. That's why music sounds better and you might have visually some things. And it's funny because most people look at it as like, well, when I smoke weed, I just sit on the couch. How could it be a stimulant?
Yeah, right.
That's not it's not the physical effect of it, or like how can alcohol be a depressant when I get so hyper?
Yeah.
And I just want to dance. And it's like, well, it's what it's doing to your brain, not your body.
Yeah.
Yep. So the 6 tips for eating healthy during the holidays. Help the hostess. An offer to greet, take coats, or clean up will not only be appreciated, it's a good way to keep your mind away from petty fours and eggnog.
And you can search
That's
pockets.
not a bad idea. Yeah, you can. Get a couple bucks here and there, maybe a cell phone.
Nice.
Maybe some candy they got in the pocket, whatever, Finders keepers. Yep.
But it is true. It's a great way to be of service, to make yourself feel good, to help them out, as well as kind of keep your hands from the idle
out of the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yes. The idle snacking that happens when you first get to the place and you're feeling awkward and uncomfortable.
Oh,
and
yeah. It's the worst if you're the first
there.
person there. Nobody else is there and you're like, so... oh, have some snacks.
You will be my friend.
Yeah, they're like, have some snacks. And you're like, oh, a cheese plate. And dump it all in your face, Like spit the toothpicks out later,
Nice. Well, build a log cabin.
Yeah.
Build a bathroom. Either way.
Yeah.
All right. Move away from the food table. Many of us take up station right next to the food table. This may make it easy to put all those culinary treats right into your mouth. A more effective strategy is to stand somewhere else. Try by the window decorations, or the tree, or the menorah. It'll give you something else to focus on. And if you're a host or hostess, I highly recommend small plates. Like, don't put out big giant plates with the appetizers. Put out little small plates with the appetizers. Help your people out. Because if there's a smaller plate, the odds of them overloading are much less. Then they'll get their plate, they can walk away, and if they want more, they have to make a trip back to the buffet table. So it just works. It helps them out, helps you out, because you're not probably going to have to put out as much food because people aren't going to eat as much because they don't have as much room on the plate. It just works out better. So, smaller plates, folks. It's just a nice thing to do.
Generally, we'll cut down on waste too, because people won't have taken too much as much. And, also, it may make it to where people who arrive later get a shot at some of the food.
That's true, too.
I mean, that's their problem. They should have got there on time, but, it's... Yeah.
Survey the offerings and select wisely. Don't like cranberries? Think potatoes and stuffing are too much starch? Then don't take them. And that, folks, is a shocking revelation because so often or not, we forget that is an option. Because we'll be sitting there at the buffet table feeling like we have to take a little bit of everything when you don't have to. It's okay. You can walk away and not have potatoes. It'll be okay. You will survive through it.
Nope.
It's so hard to fathom, though, because so often when you're faced with that, everything tastes so good, everything looks so good, so you want to try a little bit of everything.
Yeah. That's the real problem, is that, a lot of people like all the things that people bring, because a lot of times if someone's like, hey, what can we bring? And you're like, oh, this that you make is popular, bring that. So, everyone's bringing like their best thing kind of a thing,
Mm-hmm.
So of course you want to try all the things.
But take only small portions of these things that you think are worth the calories.
Well,
and that's the other thing, to make sure that it's... Alton Brown, who's a chef, once said on one of his TV shows, there is no price that I would pay over $30 for a steak.
Mm.
Not because the steak would not be worth me paying over $30. It is not worth over $30 to me. And that always stuck with me, because I stop and I think about it, and it comes down to not just money, but also caloric intake. It's, what's it worth to you as a person? Is that piece of candy worth 5 minutes on a bike? Or 5 minutes on watching TV, stay on your butt watching TV and skip a piece of candy? What's more valuable? And when you start putting things into kind of that aspect, it starts to put prioritizing in another light. And you can starting to think, it's like, oh, well, okay, maybe it's worth 5 minutes, 10 minutes on the bike to have the sweet potatoes. Maybe it's not. Depends on who you are.
Mm. Yeah, my siblings, we have different dads. And the one year for that get together, they did a thing where basically everything was, like bite size. And they did that, and it was interesting because I was like, well, I was talking with my two sisters about it, and they were telling me how they weren't as full, that they didn't like overstuff their faces, because then they use small plates. You put a few things on your plate, it looks full, and they didn't just mindlessly eat them, like they were like, oh wow, here's this and this, and you still tried everything, but you weren't, it's like we go to these beer fests, they give you a 3-ounce pour of beer instead of giving you a 20-ounce beer, and it's like, that way you can taste it, but it takes a while. I mean, you could get hammered, but you know what I mean? It's like, it would take a while generally, unless you're just shooting one after another. And kind of same with the food. They said that worked out really well. I think they do that almost every year now.
That's a great idea.
Mm. Now, of course, there are going to be some situations or people where you do bite-sized stuff, and, like the one year my sister brought, to our Thanksgiving thing, she brought pumpkin pie bites, and they went real fast. Whereas pumpkin pie doesn't always go. But what happens is somebody will grab like 10 of the, the bite-sized ones, because you just pop it in your mouth and you don't think about how much you're eating,
Yeah.
So you just have to be aware of that.
Well, the next one is drink something besides alcohol. This is especially true if you're a recovering alcoholic, but good advice for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, naturally.
Yeah.
When we drink too much, things happen we regret. Not to mention alcohol packs on the calories. Try a fruit spritzer, cranberry or orange juice, or diet soda with lemon or lime. No one will have any idea what's in your glass, and you'll be able to enjoy the evening without an embarrassing incident. Coffee, tea, low-calorie hot chocolate, and warm apple cider work well, too. I am very partial to soda water and orange juice. Or club soda and orange juice. Either one works. Tastes very alcoholic at times, and it is not, and it's very refreshing.
Mine is cranberry and soda with a slice of lime, and it even looks like I've got a cocktail.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Sounds yummy.
That's why my dad always told me, like if I was out and I didn't want to drink, the easiest way to do it would be to order a air quote rum and Coke.
Yep.
You just always get your own drink and tell the bartender no, don't put any rum in it. Because you can't look at a rum and Coke generally and know it's a rum and Coke.
Nope.
Or a whiskey and Coke, whatever,
Yeah. Exactly.
Now you can if you smell it, you know, if you get over the top of it, you can tell, because you'll be like, wow, there's no booze smell.
But next one, prearrange for a buddy. Identify an ally going into the event who you can stand next to and talk with. Not only will this make the party more fun, you can also help each other make wise choices with food and alcohol as well. I'm
just picturing like me and Tony standing there, and I go to reach for somebody, he just slaps my hand. Ow!
Hands on his hip. You really want that? Yeah. Do you really?
No,
want
he wouldn't
that?
even. You know, he doesn't even have to do that. He just slapped my hand. Like, ow! That's just how we deal with it. I mean, keep each other, you know, square that way.
Mm. But that is always a good thing. I mean, especially if you have social anxiety issues, always come prepared. You know, when you have your, your group of people who support you, your support group. Hello, I lost those words for a minute there. When you have your support group, and they have the people that love you and want you to succeed around you, many, however it happens, it's so comforting. Mm-hmm. So invite them along. If you have the opportunity of doing a +1, make it a very important +1 to you. Make it your best friend. Don't bring just a random date. Bring somebody who you know is going to be a good support for you. Mm-hmm. And last but not least, keep it moving. Yes, it gets dark early with so much else to do, but who has time or the inclination to go to the gym? But even if you can't fit into a full workout, you can park away from the mall, use the steps or push a stroller. Physical exercise keeps your endorphins pumping too, which will also make you less inclined to eat. Just had an image of me pushing an empty stroller through the mall.
Mm-hmm. I do it all the time. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just for the exercise.
Yeah.
Just pushing an empty stroller. Mm-hmm. Aren't you missing something? Mm-hmm. Oh no, that's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or you just put a nice bottle of whiskey in there, you know?
Make sure it's nice and tucked in.
Yeah, blanket around it.
And a pillow.
Yeah. Like, what's in your, like, oh, that's my pride and joy, Johnny.
So, that is my list and my helpful tips to help you get through the Christmas holiday.
There was another one that I've seen, like my sister actually has done this when they were trying to lose weight and stuff, and they were, whatever diet situation that they were on, they brought stuff with them. You know, like mm-hmm. they could have basically all the kind of like fruits and veggies that they wanted, right? So they brought a big fruit tray and a big veggie tray. That way, if they were going to mindless eat, they could focus on that stuff. Plus, they brought enough to where if other people want those things, they were also there. You know, mm-hmm. instead of sitting there eating, a cheese ball the whole night or whatever, So, and that seemed to work really well for them. So that's, depending on the scenario, that's potentially an option too. And really, and I can't stress this enough, if your reason for not taking something like that or not getting a drink that has booze in it or whatever is because of, how others will look at you. Again, remember, you don't know for sure that they'll look at you that way. And also, who cares? Mm-hmm. Don't let that derail you, whether it is the truth and they do like, come on, have a drink, like that kind of thing, or whatever, again, to sound like someone's parent, it's like, if you tell somebody you don't want to drink because of X, Y, or Z and they go, come on, have a drink, they're really not on your side at that point. 'Cause you're, for what you're trying to do. So, mm-hmm. don't give them too much strength in your decision making.
Just refer back to distorted thinking worksheet, folks.
Yeah. Yep.
Always have that readily at hand so you can keep in mind and keep perspective on mm-hmm. what the situation is going on in front of you.
Yeah. Or having said all of this, just eat whatever you want and be happy and then just work it off.
Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself 100%.
Yeah.
Above all else, find what makes you happy and enjoy yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I agree 100%. Well, guys, we good?
Yep.
Good tips for your holiday parties.
Yay. All right. With that, you know what to do. If you want to continue the conversation with us, you can reach us via email at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. You can reach us at our website at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com. You can also reach me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. You can also, if you want to hear more from me, you can listen to my other podcast, Shake the Sheets, at shakethesheets.com. And Henno, how can they reach you?
Find me on Twitter at Ida Henno, and you can find me on Facebook at Henno Heiter, and you can check out my podcast, Gothamites, or The Orvalites, depending on what television show. Oh, I found out the worst thing possible is going to happen. The Orville and Gotham are now going to start at the same time.
Oh, no.
First, Gotham was going to be put off till March, and now they're starting in January, and the Orville starting on the 29th of December. So it's like, oh
man.
Boy.
So we'll probably just focus on the last of. I'm sure what they're going to do is they're going to do like 6 episodes of Gotham and then take like a 6-week break.
Yeah, because it's the final season. Yep. They totally will.
And they'll just milk it, so we'll fill in with the Orville in the meantime, in between.
Because I think Breaking Bad did something like that in their final season. I think they've showed like 7 episodes, and then it went on a lengthy break, and then like those episodes ended up in Netflix, because that's how I caught up to where when it picked back up, I was ready to go, So I wish they'd just show them straight through, but whatever, I understand.
Yep.
Gotta make that money.
Cool. And how can they reach you, Brian?
You can also find the show on Twitter at The Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find my other podcast at salty_language or saltylanguage.com. That show is not safe for work, so earbuds in. And I lost my place. Quick, Henno, do a dance number till I find where I'm going. There we go. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. We're part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. So please go check out the other podcasts on there and see if you find anything you like. And if you have the time and would like to help the show out, we'd appreciate it if you rate, review, and subscribe if you haven't already. And please share our links to our episodes with your friends, or tell people tell people about the show that may enjoy it or get something out of it. And then, if you need help, again, this time of year is rough for a lot of people. Not that the rest of the year isn't, but if you're struggling, there's plenty of people out there that are willing to help you. Just reach out for them. Whether it's friends, family, there's, hotlines, there's support groups online, there's, apps that you can connect to therapists through. There's all sorts of stuff out there now. So please don't be alone, and, please try not to, don't do anything drastic. And also, reach out to people this year. This also goes for the people who are feeling down, like if, cause sometimes helping somebody else out with something can kind of elevate your mood as well. But reach out to somebody, make sure they're doing okay, especially if they've gone through, something rough, recently, like job loss or family loss or whatever, cause it may need some help. And, that's what it was. I was like, I know there's something else I say. And, like I said earlier, if you're feeling overwhelmed this time of year, try to make sure you, take some time to let off the gas, whether it's like Henno said, even, just 10 minutes at work, just close your eyes, whether it's meditating or not, even if it's just sitting there, just thinking for 10 minutes or whatever. It's, give yourself a break, take a bath when you get home, whatever it is you need to do for, to just, or like me, play video games for a night instead, to kind of just give yourself a break and be kind to yourself. And, of course, be kind to others too, because, don't be a jerk.
Great advice. With that, folks, go out there. Don't be a jerk this week. Have a good one.